Yesterday, my brother sent a text message to my sister and I that he and his wife are expecting a baby, that is. This is their 6th child, and just to clarify, they are not trying to form their own soccer team, and they do not own a farm. They just love life. And at the end of my brother's text message, he told us not to share it publicly because they wanted to share it with a few people in person. Apparently, we weren't important enough to tell in person, which I'm okay with, but this request helped me to understand the words of Jesus to that small group of disciples that he took up with him in the mountain where he was transfigured. Don't tell anyone the vision that you have seen. And it's hard not to share that news, particularly for the disciples who have just witnessed this magnificent vision of glory. But Jesus doesn't want people to read about this in the Jerusalem Gazette. He doesn't want them to hear about it by word of mouth. Jesus wants them to discover his glory personally. Because there is something about this personal discovery that makes it more our own, that makes us recognize that it is a glory specifically for us. In fact, this is what God does with Abram. We hear about it in the first reading. Look, God could have just made Abram the father of many nations. He could have snapped his divine fingers and given him all the descendants that he needed in a moment. But he doesn't. He doesn't. Instead, he tells Abram to go out from his land, to go out from his native place and go to an unknown land. This is the first step that Abram has to take if his descendants are going to be as numerous as the stars in the sky. He has to leave his native place. And this is more than just relocating for Abram. This is about a change in his identity. Because in those days, where you were from was essentially equal to who you were. Your identity and your native land were synonymous. And so God is not just asking Abram to move to a different house. He's asking him to define himself in a new way. In a way that he has to discover by leaving this familiar place and going to an unknown place. And I can say that for me, this was my experience when I left high school and went into college seminary. It was my experience when I spent a semester studying in Rome and when I studied Spanish for a little while in Guatemala. It was my experience when I was ordained as a priest and when I transitioned to all of my assignments. Every single transition, every invitation to go someplace new was a chance for me to see what new thing God wanted to show me, to see what new thing God wanted me to discover about myself. But I had to leave something in order to make that discovery. There was no class in seminary that could have possibly prepared me for priesthood. Because there are some things that I just had to learn, some difficulties that I just had to kind of fight through in order to understand who I was in the sight of God. At a certain point, all of us have to allow God to lead us out from what is familiar, to personally show us what he is offering. But it's not possible to see that kind of newness if we're not willing to move. You know, in order for Peter, James, and John to witness the transfiguration of Jesus, they had to go up the mountain, a high mountain. Our gospel is specific. God demands that we be willing to walk a path. We can't just sit in our recliner and expect that God is going to come and show all of this newness to us. We can't do the same thing over and over again and expect that suddenly we're going to have these marvelous revelations and everything is going to be wonderful. If we want to see something new, then we have to go out and look for something new. If we want to experience this new identity in Christ, then it means that we have to leave something behind. We have to let go of the way that we have defined ourselves and allow God to enter into our lives and say, this is what you were made for. This is who you are. This is what is possible for you if you will just let me lead you to a new place, to an unknown land that you would have never known about had I not shown it to you. And maybe we can't see the transfigured glory of Christ because we've kind of squished ourselves into the mud of sin. Maybe we can't hear God speaking to us because we don't want to hear him speaking to us. Maybe we can't see God revealing himself to us in a new way because we don't want to see him revealing himself to us in a new way. Maybe we're just okay with where we are. Maybe we don't want to move. Maybe we're just comfortable with the place that we have created for ourselves. Maybe we just kind of want to settle in to who we are right now. Well, I'm sorry, but we're not made for that. We are made for glory. And we're made not for our own glory, but we're made for the glory of God. And there is no way, there is no path to the glory of God other than going out. I don't want to be repetitive here, but we can't get to the top of the mountain if we are not willing to leave our native place, our comfortable place, our familiar place. There is no way to the mountain except through the desert and the valley and that climb up the hill. There is no way to the glory of Easter except through the cross on Calvary. We cannot experience the glory that we are made for if we are not willing to suffer and sacrifice. Friends, the method of Jesus and the method of God doesn't change. If he used it for Abram, if he used it for Moses, if he used it for the prophets, he will use it for us. The way to glory is through the desert. And we have to follow. We have to follow because our hearts want us to follow. This is not a matter of obligation. This is not a matter of duty. It's a matter of being authentic to the way that God has made us. So go out. Go out from your spiritual recliner. Go out from the little bunker that you have built for yourself. Go out to an unknown place and allow God to show you what you were made for.